Happy Friday night. Thank you to everybody for your patience. We got a good show today for you because Mike has created something really neat. Look, it's a new version of our 49ers depth chart. It's going to soon be available to the public, but it's much crisper, much cleaner than before. And the best part about this is you can toggle between 53 man, 90 man, and salary cap. So you could see all of the 49ers expenditures at every single position. You could see the total cap liabilities, the estimated cap size, the estimated cap space, how much they're spending on the practice squad. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you're not getting anywhere else. What I really like is right here, the division between the offense and the defense, spending 49.2 million on offense right now in 2026 cap space and only 109 million on defense. That is actually the biggest division that we've seen in some time. And, the biggest division that we've seen in some time happens on the age front. The 49ers have the oldest offense in the entire NFL and the third youngest defense in the entire league. So there's a fascinating dichotomy. And of course, that dichotomy is, I think, very correlated to the fact that they're spending more money on the offensive side of the ball. Now, we expect this to shift, especially over the course of this next offseason. But we'll get into all that. We'll get into the dates coming up on this offseason. I titled this Brandon Aiyuk show update. Brandon Aiyuk might have to show up to push things forward toward a resolution that he would actually like. And we've got the dates for the offseason. I'll explain this right now when you see them. The NFL released this today. The 49ers offseason program begins in 17 days on April 20th. Now, that is just the voluntary portion of the offseason program. The OTAs, organized team activities that happen after that, May 27th to 29th, June 1st, June 3rd, and 4th, those are also voluntary. But then veteran minicamp is mandatory, June 9th and 10th. Mark all of this on your calendar, right? Because you're going to want all the 49ers updates and all that good stuff. You're going to see how Brock Purdy is performing, how the 49ers rookies are doing in their first exposure to the system. But in the case of Brandon Aiyuk, mark all of this in your calendar as well. Because if he doesn't show up, especially to the mandatory part, he doesn't get paid. And if he doesn't get paid, the 49ers are in no hurry to get rid of him. After June 1st, they can trade Brandon Aiyuk and push the dead money salary cap damage mostly back to 2027. That much is true. But if there are no offers yet at that point for Brandon Aiyuk, then you think of, well, at what point does it become inconvenient for the 49ers to keep him on their roster? And if he's not showing up, then it's not inconvenient at all. And then this moves into a training camp question, and we can get into that at a later date. But anyway, looking at this for the whole team, reflective of the dates that we saw last year for San Francisco, these are the dates now officially for 49ers offseason workouts. Of course, the NFL draft is going to be shortly after that April 20th date. So phase one begins on Monday, the 20th. There will be a press conference for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. That's going to be the next time. At least John Lynch is going to speak. Once Kyle Shanahan has spoken at that press conference, which happens near the start of OTAs, he did it in 2021 when San Francisco was trying to trick everybody into thinking they were picking Mac Jones, but they were actually picking Trey Lance. Normally, it's only a John Lynch press conference. This year, it's going to happen on either April 20th or April 21st. The draft then starts on April 23rd and runs through April 25th. So keep all of those dates in mind. Rookie minicamp is going to be 2 weeks after the NFL draft. So May 7th and 8th for rookie mini camp. All right, one more piece today of super logistical news, but this is big because this is a clear hint as to an open starting spot on this 49ers team. Here is the contract for Robert Jones. We've been waiting a while for this. This is the 49ers' new guard, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, and last year he was with the Cowboys, although he didn't play because of a fracture in his neck. He has checked out healthy for the 49ers, and he has earned a contract with guaranteed money on it. But Only 1.64 million fully guaranteed. It's a 1-year, $1.3 million fully guaranteed base salary, a $340,000 signing bonus, and then right here, a little bit over $100,000 in various bonus money, per game roster bonus total, and workout bonus. The salary cap hit for Robert Jones at about 1.7 million, and that's roughly reflective of the fully guaranteed total. Now, the lesson here is that this is potential starting left guard money. Ben Barch was 1 year about $1.3 to $1.4 million last year, and he started theirs week 1 for the 49ers. But it is not necessarily starter money for Robert Jones, right? This is something that the 49ers could back out of and not feel all too bad about. And what John Lynch said the other day was that they're far from done adding at this left guard position. They want to add either through free agency or through the NFL draft. And it could be right now that the 49ers are thinking NFL draft to plug and play or try to pick somebody who might be able to play left guard in the interim and then take over for Trent Williams down the road. But they just want to give themselves as many options as possible at that position. Now, we can use Mike's new depth chart here. We can go to the 53-man roster. I don't know if we're fully updated on this sucker yet. Let's see if we are. If we're not, no, yeah, we got to add Robert Jones. Now, I left this open on purpose at the left guard position, though, just to illustrate that the 49ers have Trent Williams as a core player at left tackle. They have Jake Brendel at center, and they have Dominic Pooney at right guard. They've got Colton McKivitz at right tackle. Then I did not move Connor Colby into that left guard starting position because he's got to earn that before he can get it. Robert Jones is going to compete. Now, Brett Toth is a free agent addition, so we'll save him as such. He'll get that free agent marker. And now maybe we can add a new player. Maybe Mike can even do it. Mike, can you add Robert Jones while I speak right now to this? Let's see. Oh, maybe I'm not using the updated roster. Mike, give me an updated one. Give me 1 second. Robert Jones on this one. Is he? No, yeah, no, I was using I don't see Robert Jones on there, Mike. We got to add Robert Jones so we can illustrate where Robert Jones is at. Here I go, 90 man. Yeah, he's not on there. So we're going to have Mike add Robert Jones because that's who we're talking about. And that's going to illustrate the left guard position. But it's Jones, it's Connor Colby, it's Brett Toth, and then it could be a rookie. The one thing about the NFL draft is that it's notoriously unpredictable. Anybody who's talking about the draft through only a player lens is selling you snake oil. If you're not talking about this draft, a big picture, especially since the 49ers don't pick until number 27, then I think you're completely missing the point. A lot can happen. Again, the example that I use to illustrate this is that you would never talk specifically solely about the play that the 49ers run on play snap 27 of a game leading up into the game. That'd be crazy, right? 27 plays in, so much can happen over the course of the first 26 plays, especially since the other team is going to get to run its plays as well. So much can happen, and you don't know what the down and distance on play number 27 is going to be. That trying to predict exactly what your move is going to be when you reach that play would be an absolute fool's errand. So you have to talk about the draft more in strategic terms, in terms of possibilities. Which way do you turn here? Which way do you turn there? And by the end of it, you have to accept the fact that because it is a crapshoot, you might actually not end up with players at the positions that you wanted to fill. And you're not going to just draft guys just to say that you drafted a certain position. You're only going to draft guys that you like, that you firmly believe can fit into your system. So yes, in an ideal world, the 49ers would enter this NFL draft and leave it with another offensive lineman, preferably one who could play left guard right away. They'd enter it and leave it with another wide receiver to fill into that mix to give them the longer-term depth and longer-term firepower that they need at the position. They'd enter the draft and then leave it with another defensive lineman, maybe another safety. I mean, those are all positions that are thinner for San Francisco. Those are all positions where you could accurately point at and say that they need to add more players. But the draft doesn't just work at the snap of a finger. It's not magic like that. A lot of people think that this is a video game, and it isn't. And there's a good chance that the 49ers are going to leave this NFL draft without every single one of those spots adequately filled. And that's when you have to go back to the free agency market. So you try to insulate yourself before the draft with free agency signings that you can make at the right price to ensure that you'll be okay at a position, even if you don't luck into it over the course of the weekend of the draft. But sometimes prices are too far apart in that free agency period, so you don't get the guys that would be able to give you that kind of security. I think Joey Bosa is a great example. The price tag right now for Joey Bosa is too high. The 49ers are unwilling to commit to that. John Lynch even said that I'm sure that Mama Bosa would like it, but I think Joey's going to be too expensive for us. So we have a fairly clear answer from John Lynch as to the 49ers and Joey Bosa not seeing eye to eye right now, even though the 49ers need another defensive lineman or two or three. We assume that they're going to be trying to get a defensive lineman or two, maybe even three, in the NFL draft. No team has been as aggressive as the 49ers when it comes to drafting defensive linemen ever since 2018, ever since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch took over. Just take a look at the graphic of aggressiveness for San Francisco when it comes to drafting different positions. Defensive line, number one in the league by a fairly wide margin. 31% of their draft capital ever since 2017 has gone on defensive linemen. So the 49ers will probably try to dip into that pool again. But if they don't dip into that pool for whatever reason, or if they don't dip into it adequately, and Joey Bosa is still on the table after the NFL draft comes and passes, well, maybe the 49ers' willingness to pay Joey Bosa will be different. Maybe by that point, Joey Bosa's asking price will be a little bit lower, and maybe by that point, the two sides will see eye to eye. You see signings happen after the draft all the time, and the 49ers still have 17 spots left to fill on their 90-man roster. So it's an evolving market, a dynamic market, and the next big inflection point in that market is the NFL draft, because the 49ers will fill up many of the remaining 17 spots on their 90-man, and then they'll potentially turn back to veteran free agency to fill out the rest. Joel Bitonio is the Joey Bosa example for the offensive line. Veteran, established player, been around playing at a high level for a long time, would definitely fit what the 49ers are doing systematically. But with Joel Bitonio, it's a little bit different than Joey Bosa. They both have the JB initials. To just realize that. JB on offense on the line, JB on the defensive line. But with Joel Bitonio, we're not sure if he wants to continue playing. Retirement is a possibility. Those rumors are not there for Joey Bosa. But with Joel Bitonio, if the 49ers don't find an offensive lineman that they like, if the draft breaks in a different way because it's a crapshoot and it's unpredictable, then maybe they're going to have to go to the veteran free agent market to add that final piece of their offensive line. And I think that there's a lot in common between Joel Bitonio and Joey Bosa. I think it is as simple as that. All right. Anyway, 14 minutes in, time to answer some of your questions on this beautiful Friday evening, April 3rd. We are sitting here after a good dinner. It was a very, very busy evening. Hope everybody has a nice Easter weekend. And to get everything kicked off, I will be happy to answer all of your questions. As Eric Gomes says, ask some good ones. I really would appreciate it. I know that you guys, this is maybe a little bit short notice to answer questions, but no excuse to not have good ones. We got some Jauan Jennings fans in here, third and Jauan. I mean, very good player for the 49ers. There's no denying that, but the 49ers tried to get something done with him last offseason. His price was too high. Now they have Mike Evans. Now, Evans and Jauan don't exactly match up at the same position, right? In an ideal world, Evans is your X. Pearsall's your Z, and you can get Jauan Jennings back at an affordable rate as your F, as your big slot receiver. The problem is that Jennings damn near had 1,000 receiving yards in 2024 and is, should make more money than a third wide receiver. He's worth more than 10 million. We know that. And the 49ers at this point, since he only fits as a 3, are unable to pay that much. You've got to pay a player a salary, especially if you're tight on space like the 49ers. You have to pay a player a salary that is commensurate with his role. I think it's a similar situation with Joey Bosa on the defensive side of the ball. Joey is not going to be Nick for this 49ers team. He's not going to be, if he signs with the 49ers, it's not going to be as a de facto 3-down player in the prime of his career that the 49ers are relying on for 800 to 1,000 snaps. I think it's somebody that they want to keep at 5 to 550 snaps over the course of the year. So because of that, they can't, and that's max. Maybe even down to 300 to 550 snaps. Maybe it's a little bit of a lower range for Joey Bosa. It's a more targeted position that they need him to fill. And because of that, they can't afford a $13 to $15 million salary. They need to pay that position an amount commensurate to what the role actually is. So Jauan Jennings is looking for wide receiver 1 or 2 money, and the 49ers are willing to pay him as a wide receiver 3. That's what they paid for Christian Kirk. If Jennings came and said, hey, I'll play for what Christian Kirk is making, I'm sure the 49ers would sign him in a heartbeat. But Jauan Jennings wants more money than that. The 49ers would deal with the roster logjam if they can get that kind of price efficiency. But Jauan, of course, is far apart from what the 49ers are willing to offer. On the defensive side of the ball, Joey Bosa wants, I'm guessing, at least as much as he made last year. He was a Pro Bowler with Buffalo. He made about $13.2 million over the course of the season. I don't think the 49ers want to go anywhere above 10, and maybe the number is even less than that, given the role that they have envisioned for Joey Bosa. So the price is just the expectations and the ask and the demands just don't match up right now for either of those two players. They probably never will for Jauan Jennings, just because of the realism of the situation with Mike Evans being the X receiver. There's more room still left to be filled at the edge rusher position. So there's a higher chance that the price lines up for Joey Bosa at some point in the future. But the closer that we get to the NFL draft, the more draft dependent this projects to be. Now, one cool piece of information that I think everybody should remember is that after the NFL draft happens, the compensatory formula no longer is in effect when you sign players. So adding a Joel Bitonio, adding a Joey Bosa, adding a veteran after the NFL draft will not hurt you in the compensatory pick process if you make that signing after the events of April, 23rd to 25th of this year. And that's big for a team like the 49ers, which has earned more compensatory draft selections than any other team in the NFL this decade. The 49ers have maxed out the comp process. It's been huge for them. A player like Brock Purdy is a compensatory pick. That's how he entered at number 262. The Patriots under Bill Belichick, back when they were in their dynasty, were masters at the compensatory pick process. The Ravens have been very good at it year over year, but the 49ers have been better than either of those two franchises at it this decade. And it's been a huge part of the 49ers' success. And you've got to think about the strategy that goes into the comp formula in order to maximize those picks. And one piece of strategy is that any veteran that you could sign after the draft versus before it, if it is possible to wait out the draft, well, it will help out your compensatory formula, especially if he's making quite a bit of money. So that's something that the 49ers, I'm sure, definitely are keeping their minds on as the calendar has turned to April, as the NFL draft approaches. As we talk about strategy, again, we can see how the 49ers have spent their capital over the years. The offensive line amount is less than the league average of about 18%. So the 49ers are amongst the lowest spenders in draft capital on the O-line, but they are literally the highest spender in draft capital along the D-line. They need at least one body at both of those positions. For O-line, at least one body, I think, in the NFL draft is the goal for San Francisco. At D-line, they might need more. So we'll see if these tendencies hold true, but they definitely do need to spend some draft capital this year on the offensive line. Let's thank Mike for all his hard work on the channel. This is a beer for Mike. I'm not the Venmo Mike. Mike, what kind of drink do you want from Terry? Terry with El Capitan right there. We're going to call Terry El Capitan for his awesome do you call that an avatar? Your profile picture? I don't know. If people haven't seen Free Solo, the movie yet, it is about a guy. His name is Alex Honnold, who goes up and he climbs Terry's avatar. He climbs El Capitan right there, which is 3,000 feet. He climbs it without a rope. It is insane. If you need to be inspired, go watch Free Solo. It is about one of the greatest athletic achievements that we've ever seen. Alex Honnold recently climbed Taipei 101, which is a skyscraper in Taiwan, in Taipei. But that was like easy mode. Everybody was freaking out, and he did it on Netflix, and it was a Netflix special. But climbing El Capitan without a rope, and that's what Free Solo, the National Geographic movie, is about. That's a lot harder than climbing a skyscraper because A, it's 3 times as tall as the tallest skyscraper in San Francisco, for example, the Salesforce Tower. And B, it's a rock and it's straight up in the air. And there's even times where it seems that he's tilted backwards and somehow he's got the hand strength to be able to not fall. I mean, it is epic. I highly recommend it. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate you. You have just gotten Mike a beer. If anybody else wants to buy Mike a beer for all the great work that he does on the channel, some of this stuff. He says there's a new version of this, by the way. He says there was a little. We're slowly rolling this out. We're going to share the link with everybody. I mean, there's a link at the top. You guys can probably manually put it in, but we're not going to formally share it with people until we get all of these issues ironed out. But this is the future of the channel. We're going to have cool graphics, cool depth charts. My favorite part of this, though, is the salary cap feature, where I think this is better than any of the salary cap websites. And I'm sure that we're going to have more functionality added to this later, but you can look at the size of cap hits at every single position. You can see the total dead money. Look, the dead money here even will expand and open up. If you just click down here, this is the dead money the 49ers are paying this year. Brandon Aiyuk, we have listed as dead money for the time being, just to simplify these things. But Mike has done a hell of a job. He's fixing an issue right now. I think he's fixing the Robert Jones issue. Mike has put in a lot of work on this over the course of the past couple days. And we'll slowly roll this out. We've got some, if you guys like this kind of stuff that I think differentiates our channel, where you're going to get interactive, capability, where you're going to be able to get on your phone, get on your laptop and take a look at the 90-man, the 53-man, and all the cap hits. Give us a thumbs up or give us a yes in the chat section. And I'm sure that Mike's work will be very appreciated. Of course, you could always send him more money for a beer, just like Terry did. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. Going to go back and take a look at some more questions. Good. We're getting some thumbs up. That makes me happy. You got a 30-minute Zoom call with Patrick Willis. What are some questions you should ask him? He opened up a little bit about this not too long ago, about all the pain that he was going through at the end of his career with his toe. That was before people knew a whole heck. I still think that people don't know much about turf toe, but it became something that was much more talked about when Brock Purdy went through it this past year. But Patrick Willis was a warrior especially at the end of his career, playing through a lot of pain in his toe, and he had to do a ton to manage it. I think just asking him about the physical difficulty of playing in the NFL, what he had to do to take care of his body, specifically his toe, to continue going out there and play at a high level at the end of his career. I think that would be fascinating stuff. And you could ask him about the pairing with Navarro Bowman, and if he sees some of the Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw chemistry that right now between those two players that he saw between himself and Bowman. I think that'd be really cool because you've heard Fred talk a lot about the chemistry he has with Greenlaw, and he's obviously really happy to get Dre back on the team. Sounds like a cool opportunity. So hopefully you have a good opportunity to ask all the questions that you want to, but those are just two of the ones that I would recommend. Yeah, turf toe does sound absolutely horrible. I'm sure if you talk to Patrick Willis about it, then you'll start to get an appreciation for how much he fought through. Every time you press your toe, it's like somebody pushing a 10-pound hammer on your toe. Well, that's what Purdy had to go through last year too. So hopefully it makes people appreciate what these NFL guys have to deal with. Is Justin Simmons a realistic option to the safety position? I did a video about this last week. I know other people started copying it and doing their own Justin Simmons videos after that. The last time we saw him with Raheem Morris, because he didn't play in 2025, he had like a 20% missed tackle rate. He didn't have a good year. Now, that being said, the Falcons had a terrible pass rush that year. So safeties are going to be beholden to their pass rush. I get that. But I'm very, very wary of safeties getting up there in age who see skyrocketing missed tackle rates. And the 49ers I have a big piece on the 49ers defensive line dropping tomorrow morning up on the San Francisco Standard. And we'll get into some of this in a video tomorrow. So the 49ers could absolutely expect their D-line to take massive steps forward. They were really good before guys got hurt in 2025, and they could think that could insulate the safety position. But if you're going to do that, and if you're going to count on that, then you might as well just go with younger safeties, right? If you think that the D-line is going to help the safeties so much. Unless you think that Marquise Siegel and Malik Mustafa are completely beyond repair, I don't know why you would need to go out and sign a safety who really struggled the last time he was out on a football field and hasn't played in over a year. I do agree that you have to add to that position, at least for depth purposes. I think the draft seems like ideal ground for that. And you could add safety to the list of positions that the 49ers might wait to address until after the draft in case they don't get a rookie there at the end of April. And they'll see, and they didn't add Tashawn Gibson in 2022 until August, until right before the start of the regular season. So it seems to me that would be the more logical thing. Just because Justin Simmons is a big name doesn't mean that he's any good at this point. And if you look at the numbers, he definitely wasn't very good. Now, again, could be better if he was in a better situation, and maybe the 49ers will present that. But a lot of people fall in love with name recognition. They want to sign everybody. They want to waste money like a bad franchise. Well, there's a reason why bad franchises stay bad, and it's because they usually aren't discriminate enough when it comes to trying to fill roster holes during free agency. Can Nick Martin evolve into a unique chess piece for Raheem? Well, why don't we just talk about Nick Martin maybe evolving into a solid linebacker first before we start talking about unique chess piece? I get it that he's strong, he's fast, he's really athletic, probably a lot of moldable clay. Yeah, sure. Maybe he can turn into somebody who can give the 49ers a lot of versatility at linebacker. But first, I would like to see him stay healthy. He unfortunately was in that concussion protocol for a while last year. I'd like to see him work his way up to the strong side linebacker position. And then Dre Greenlaw and D. Winters are only under contract through this season. So I think that gives Nick Martin a chance to really blossom and show what he's got, not only in 2026, but moving forward to 2027. Terry says, this defense is young and moldable. I trust Raheem will make it work. Here's a sneak preview to tomorrow. Over the first two games before Bosa got hurt and before the 49ers started dropping like flies on the defensive side of the ball, their defensive metrics, their defensive EPA, their drop back EPA would have ranked number 1 of all NFL teams, higher than even the Seattle Seahawks and Houston Texans if extrapolated over the course of the entire season. I know that's a small sample size, but it's something to pay attention to. They finished number 25 after everybody got hurt. I think that 49ers defense was on its way to being damn good in 2025. And that's an excellent sign for the 49ers heading into 2026. More on that tomorrow. We're going to dive into it. I wanted to give you guys a nice Friday night show. So set your alarm clocks, do whatever, set your little alarm bell on YouTube. We're going to go hard tomorrow with more 49ers coverage. So stay tuned, hit that like button, hit the sub button. We'll talk to you very soon.